Good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m., so we're just going to wait sort of 60 seconds just for any stragglers to come across. So good morning, everyone. If you didn't hear the start, sorry, it's 10 a.m. I'm just going to wait 60 seconds for any stragglers to join on, and we'll get started. Couple more people joining now, as I can see. Almost there. And I think, oh, just a few more, sorry. I can just see them loading in. And I think we could just about kick off. Anyone can catch up. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name's Trent. I'm working at Verkada. So as you said, we're going to do a Verkada overview, really brought to you by Complete IT. So, and I say it's an overview. It's more of a demonstration, really, of the Verkada products. So, going to just give a little bit of context over the background. But ultimately, we're going to dive in, as you can see here, on the demo of the product. So we'll cover a couple of the hotline points, but then dive into what we're actually going to do. Most of you would have dealt with Complete IT in the past. So obviously you were invited upon this by Complete IT. So we've partnered up with Complete IT. I personally have worked with Complete IT for over 10 years. I know they've been in business for almost 15 plus years now. They cater for all aspects of IT and for all types of customers. So customers of all sizes and types. And they're usually, well, they're always, in my opinion, adored, trusted, and almost a go-to for for end users like yourselves. So without further ado, let's dive in so we can get past slides. This shouldn't be slideware on a Thursday morning, but we should dive into the actual product itself. Let me have a look now. So you've been invited to a Verkada demo, so there's no penalty if you've not heard of Verkada before now. So Verkada is it's about 5 years old now. So we were founded in 2016. We sold our first product in 2017. So brought together by effectively some friends from Stanford and MIT who wanted to sort of create a technology company that was focused on building security. So focused on securing enterprise or business premises. So the goal of the company really was to secure people, secure their assets, and secure their privacy. The vision of the company was to create a secure system, so both physically and from a access perspective, that was also scalable and ready to use in regards to AI platforms. I've gone the wrong way. Look at that. The product range that stands now has expanded past cameras. So we sold our first camera in 2017 and have since then sold cameras into over 6,000 customers, ranging from some astronomical amount of revenue per year into the hundreds of millions. We've also expanded last year into access control and into environmental sensors. So ultimately, if we go back to that goal of looking after a building's physical security, we're expanding that within the Verkada platform. Now, it's important to note from the outset that it's our hardware combined with our software and managed from a cloud platform. So all of our products, so all of the devices in themselves are computers. So each camera is an edge computer, each access control is an edge computer, and each environmental sensor is an edge computer. And what ties these all together is the cloud management platform. That cloud management platform, we've made sure it's GDPR compliant. It is powered by AWS. And if you wanted to isolate your instance to within the EU, you can do so at the moment using our AWS's Ireland data center, and you do that basically from the command console itself. Now, if you were to Google Verkada at the moment and pull up some articles and news conferences, I'm not going to shy away. We actually had a security incident that affected us back in March or the beginning of March. I would encourage you, once you've looked at those headline figures, or maybe ignore the headline figures and go straight to this link here. So verkada.com/security update. You'll see a whole series of updates updates and things that we've done. Verkada's attitude towards this incident, it was we were targeted by a group of international hackers that were looking to disrupt and cause problems. But our remit off the back of that was to learn from this process and ensure that we improve and do so in an open and transparent way. So please go in, update yourself and see what we've done. There's been a consolidated effort. We've brought in security experts from both internally and externally, and we really want to move forward and make sure that this is a learning process that betters the company and betters our credentials going forward. Now, the best way to look at Verkada is to do a comparison. So I'm going to focus mainly on CCTV here, but a lot of the principles work across all the different products that we have. CCTV is still very much the go-to or the first product that customers look to purchase. And the best way to understand Verkada is to compare traditional CCTV versus our CCTV, and that's just looking at the architecture of the two products. So if I look at a traditional system, so this is a system that you probably have in play at the moment, you'll have a couple of cameras, more likely IP-based cameras, maybe not, but I'm going to go with the majority here and say you'll have IP-based cameras going into a switch, which then go into an NVR, so go into a network video recorder, so an on-premise server, so to speak. From this on-premise server is where you're going to do most of the management. So you might have a monitor in your server room that you go and log into and look at your CCTV. A lot of people now, and I suspect the majority, have got some sort of VPN policies where they're remoting into this on-prem piece of kit, and that's where they're doing the management. Or you might even have third-party, it's called VMS, so virtual management systems. So that's where you will sort of manage it. And look, this has been the way of doing things for the last 20 plus years. I worked as a security guard when I was at uni in 2000, and we had a NVR, and I remember going from sort of writing names on tapes and putting them on the shelves to switching to the NVR to a server solution, and I thought it was revolutionary. But we're moving a bit more forward, and people are moving away from physical infrastructure. They're moving into a more digital cloud transformation process. And the reasons behind that, we all know. This on-premise server needs patching, it needs security credentials. A lot of the customers we speak to that have this in play, you normally have a series of username and passwords. So you've got maybe 3 or 4 username and passwords to access your security system, and you dish that out to maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different people. So you're sharing and using passwords, which comes with its whole raft of issues. Now, Verkada has sort of started without this historical footprint. So we started in 2016 when this was the way of doing things, and we thought, well, how can it be done differently? And how would you do it if you were presented with a blank piece of paper today? So what we came up with a completely new way. For us, we put the infrastructure on the individual camera. So you choose a camera like you would choose a smartphone, or an iPhone. You choose an indoor dome, an outdoor dome. You choose the type of camera or cameras that you want. Once you've chosen your cameras that you need, you then choose the amount of storage that each camera also needs. So we have cameras that store footage for 30 days, for 60 days, 90 days, right up to 365 days. So you choose the camera, and then you choose the amount of storage or the amount of footage that you want to be retained on the camera itself. You then connect that camera via the IP network, so usually via PoE, straight into the cloud. So we open up 2 ports, 443 and 123, and then you manage everything from the cloud console itself. Now, to make it easier to find footage, to look at footage, to analyze, get notifications, etc., what we're doing is we're sending thumbnails and metadata only to the cloud. So every sort of 10 to 20 seconds, we'll send a thumbnail and metadata from each camera up into the cloud. And that's how we're able to keep a very low bandwidth solution. So we advertise it at 20 kilobits per second. I'm going to be really honest and say it can vary between 20 and maybe 50 or 60 kilobits per second, worst case. Even at that level, you've got a very bandwidth-friendly solution. So whether you're operating this on your normal network LAN or maybe an isolated, so traditionally, I should say, if you go back up one, these type of systems are usually put into an isolated LAN network because the bandwidth is so heavy. You're putting so much footage back onto this server. With Verkada, we find that customers are more than willing to put it onto their existing LAN network for their infrastructure, for their Wi-Fi, etc., because the LAN bandwidth is also so friendly, and that's the same friendly bandwidth that goes into your WAN as well. When you're accessing the management console, it should be an extension of your existing security credentials. So whether you've got single sign-on, we'll integrate with the leading single sign-on manufacturers, Duo, Okta, multi-factor authentication, and we also integrate with mobile device management vendors as well to make sure that people who are managing it from our mobile app are doing so in a secure way. Now, I've covered everything here, so it's the footage is held on the camera. You're connecting over the IP network. You're then accessing it via the cloud, and you're able to do that in a secure platform. So to summarize, before I just dump in and start showing you bits and pieces of the actual product, we're looking to make an easy to use solution. So we're trying to reduce the amount of footage that's kept on-prem. We're making it so it's managed from the web browser. So if you've got a remote working policy 2 or 3 days a week, it doesn't matter. You can do everything from wherever your laptop and your internet connection is. Updates are automatic. So firmware, software updates are automatic, and they're going straight down. So it's reducing the amount of effort that you're having to put into keeping your systems up to date. And that can reduce exponentially the amount of costs, because most people now are getting companies in to service and look after the camera estate, and that's costing money just to do a firmware update on an NVR, just to do some hardware updates on the individual cameras. It's unlimited access, so you can easily grant and revoke access to as many people as you like, and you can make it as granular. And I'll go through, when I'm in the demo, I'll go through how granular you can make an individual person's access within the system. It's a smart system. I'm repeating myself on that point. It does have automatic alerts that will come through to you. You can share footage instantly, so you can send footage around. I've spoken at length about the scalability. Our hardware, so it's our hardware combined with our software, but our hardware comes with a 10-year warranty. So it's a 10-year product warranty. And we have customers, I said, we've got 6,000 customers. Over 6,000 customers globally, closing in on 300 customers in the UK. And they're ranging from people with 2 or 3 cameras right through to multinationals with thousands of cameras operating across multiple countries, etc., and so on. But let me stop talking about slides and dive in. I've taken almost 10 minutes of your time on slides, but let's dive into the actual product itself. So if I escape from there and dive into this area here, excuse me, I was losing my voice. First thing you're going to see, I'll go to our home screen. So I've pre-logged in. So you log in as an individual. So if I go into the top left-hand corner, you'll see that my name's Trent Matchett. I've logged in as an individual, and associated to my individual login are multiple organizations. So this Verkada demo organization just looks at some of our external cameras, etc. But if you picture these as being different organizations, so if I was part of the Amatil company, I might say this is Coca-Cola, this is Fanta, this is Mountain Dew, and they'd be the different organizations and maybe different factories that I have in and around the environment. I go into my management console here, and this is where I've consolidated everything. So on my home screen, you'll see that I can be in the cameras page, I can be in the access control page, or I can be in the environmental sensors page. So I can easily, at a click, jump in between the different parts of my security network. In addition, as I can narrow things down, and this is where I talk about hierarchies. So I've got different sites and subsites. So if I really wanted to dive into the external cameras that we've got in London, I could do so quite easily, or I could just look at all the London cameras. I think we've got our internal ones turned off. So I can keep that going in. Now, it's important to note here as well that the access credentials that you can put in can relate to sites and subsites. So if I go into our admin console, I look at users. He says, oh, I got a bit click happy there. I can see here that Aaron, I might go back one if I can. I got a bit click happy and go into different Aaron just so you can see the different credentials. You see that this particular Aaron is under a sales group policy. So we can set up group policies that interact with your Active Directory. Um, and you can see here that we've got the same site and sub-site structure. By default, Aaron here is a site viewer. That means he can see current and historic footage. For some of the sub-sites, we've made him a site admin, but the options here are to make live only viewer or no access at all. So if you think about that, if you had an office manager in Glasgow and you wanted to give them full access to their site, you'd obviously make them a site admin, but then you would give them no access or maybe live only to Manchester or the London office. So you can make things as granular as you want, giving access and sort of taking away responsibility or a sort of single point of failure within your security estate. If I go back to this potential page here, the other thing I can do is I can link this into a map. Before I do that though, a lot of times we talk about a cloud-based system and being able to manage it. It's also being able to know that your system is up operationally and functioning. A lot of customers that we speak to come to Verkada because they've had incidences. So they've had people break into their premises. They've had people fall over on site, public sites where people fall over. At that point, they go and try and find footage. And it's only at that point do they realize that a camera has been offline, that it's not worked for the last 2-3 weeks. And it was not fielded up to them, or it's very difficult for them to go in and see that in real time. With Verkada, obviously, it's a cloud-based system. So at any point in time, I could come in, look at my devices, filter it, and I can see exactly how many cameras I've got offline. Now, it's worth pointing out this is a test network and people are playing with things all the time. So we've got 4 cameras offline and I can see them straight away. I can dive into them and understand exactly where they are. This is a camera in Croatia of all places that's not working, and I can make sure I can rectify that. Not only do I don't have to physically go in and check this, I can also set it up so I'm getting alerts come through to me directly. So I'm getting alerts when a camera's offline, alerts when a camera's been tampered with. So all of our cameras have an accelerometer built into them. So if someone hits them with an accelerated force, you're going to see that, and you're going to get that email and SMS come through. And also the cameras are machine learning. So if they've been in situ for 20, 30 days, and then someone comes and puts a partition in front of them or spray paints them, you're going to get that notification come through that you should, hey, go and check this out, etc. Now, apart from being able to isolate them from the different sites, the other thing I can do here is I can put them into my Google map, and I can see them plotted and put around. So if I go right out, I can actually change this and say, look, I want to see where the London office cameras are, and it's going to put me into Great Eastern Street and Shoreditch, etc. But I'm going to flick back to the HQ. And you can see here all the cameras and where they're plotted. You can also dive in and get that live bit of thumbnail off them as well. And plus, you'll notice here that not all of them are green. This is one of those cameras I was referring to before that is offline. So one of our engineers is having a bit of fun with it. And you can dive in and rectify that. So you can get that notification if you've plotted them correctly, which isn't hard to do. You can isolate it right down, and you can point people and get them going and working straight away. The other thing, if I dive in, I could dive in here, or from the top left-hand side, is I can dive into our floor plan. So you can not only plot them on Google Maps, but you can upload a floor plan of your premises, and you can see all the cameras plotted around. So hopefully you can see everything there. You'll see a green dot with a directional hue. So that directional hue is which way the camera is pointing. So I've got a camera pointing to that door, and I've got a camera on the other side of that door as well. Now, it's very early in the morning. This is live footage we're seeing from San Mateo, so that's California. So if it wasn't so early in the morning, you might see a cleaner walking around somewhere, but you can also enable live motion detection. So that's when people walk around, the blobs on the screen will go from blue to red. I highly doubt we might see someone if we're lucky, but I highly doubt we will at this point in time. But what I can do is go back to a people heat map. So if I go back to the people heat map, I can start to set that up, and I can set that up historically. So if I wanted to look at, say, last Wednesday, I can look at that. This is a 1-hour heat map. So I'm going to change that to a 4-hour plot. And then I can start to sort of wind that. Oh, I don't want to stop sharing. I'll just change my screen up a little bit. Sorry, the stop sharing button is right where I want to move my little cursor. So this is a sort of early morning. So if I want to sort of switch that to late afternoon and get an update of where people are walking in and around the building, I can do so. So I can see that in the afternoon sort of go home period, of the day, that actually my front door isn't used as often or isn't as much as a sort of crowded location as my side doors are here. So if you're thinking about retail sector use this a lot. So we've got Sydney Airport, which is a little bit closer to my historical home. They use this to look at the way that people were moving through the duty free section. We've got schools using this to understand where the pinch points are, so where they should maybe locate additional staff resources. And we've got officers using them now for things like COVID notifications and social distancing, or maybe just where should we change things up? Where could we sort of direct people or make it so it's a little bit less traffic conducive? In addition to sort of looking at this, you can obviously get the thumbnails that are tucked around, and I'm going to dive into this exact camera here. I should have mentioned, I'm quite used to sort of one-to-one demos where I get questions fired at me all the time. I should have mentioned that you can put questions into the right-hand side of your of this presentation, plot them down, and I can try and read through them at the end and answer them as we go, etc. But I've dived into our front camera in San Mateo. So this is the front entrance, and I'm now getting a live feed. As I said, it's very early in the morning, so it's 2:30 in the morning in San Mateo. But I'm getting a live feed. So just for reference, I'm not sat in San Mateo, and I'm not sat in Australia, although I referenced that I am Australian. I'm sat in Gloucestershire, so I'm getting that live feed from my home, and I'm able to look after my security credentials here. Now, the thumbnails and metadata that I talked about before are sent up to the cloud, and the best way of descripting them, I've got I can break them into different hourly lots. This is a 24-hour thumbnail, and you'll see here, if I look on yesterday, I can actually go together, and it's effectively pieced together the whole day. It was once described to me as when you're a kid, you used to draw a stick man on the corner of a book, and you used to draw them on every page and make it so he would run along the page and kick a ball. That's very much what we're doing here. So you're flipping together all the thumbnails, and you're able to get an overview of the whole day. You'll notice all the lines down the bottom, and that's indicating a person. So what we're doing is we've turned people analytics on in this particular camera, and you can see it's detecting and saying, look, we've seen a person here, so we're going to indicate that with a line. Now, the best case example here is if I was to say, change this to a 4-hour thumbnail, and I look at sort of midnight to 4 a.m. If someone sort of said to me, Trent, there was an incident in this back area of the office last night, someone was there at 10 to 11 or 10 to 12, so it was definitely after 12 o'clock, and then someone got in at 5, I could actually go into this 4-hour thumbnail here, and I could look through and say, okay, so when was someone there? And I could dive into that footage straight away. So I would effectively dive in, and here I would see that footage, and I'd watch this individual walking around doing he's just a cleaner. It wasn't him. So in fact, I could use that same methodology along the bottom here and just lined across, so it's the same cleaner walking to and from. I won't keep watching a cleaner walking back and forth, because that could be very, very laborious. Now, the other thing I might do is say, Trent, there was an incident at this front door, and it's damaged the front door, so we don't know when it happened. So I know it's just this front door, so I don't care about people going past the footpath here. So I'm just going to isolate and look at this front door. And what I'm going to be presented with, if it ever loads up, here we go, is I'm going to be presented with all the thumbnails where motion has been detected in this highlighted zone here. Now I can filter that motion by people, which I'm going to do. And now I get presented with all these thumbnails where people are walking through. So I can dive into any one of these thumbnails, and I can see this chap. I don't know. I'm not picking on him for any particular reason. I've never seen this before. And I can say, look, he's damaged the door somehow. That was definitely him. I can do a couple of different things whilst I'm in this clip. So, by the way, this is when I dive into the clip, that's the first time I'm historically taking footage off the camera. So I'm now streaming footage directly from that camera. So I can start to add different cameras straight away. So I've paused it there. So if I've named my doors correctly, I could put in up to 4 different cameras and have them running side by side. So you'll see once that loads up that I can press play and it's going forward, back and forward. I just flicked my mouse, by the way, and that's made it go a bit funny. I could do different things here. I'll pause that there. I could take a photo of this. So if I zoom in on the right place, I could optically zoom in and take a photo of this individual's face. I could upload this from the camera into the cloud. So I could archive this clip. So if this is the incident and I'm thinking, okay, I found the incident, I found the clip, I want to save this. I want to make sure I never lose this clip. I want to make sure I've got it for more than 30 days. So if I've taken a 30-day camera, it will take a rolling 30 days. So at day 31, it'll overwrite itself. It'll overwrite day 1. But if I've found an incident, which is really quite easy to do, and I want to keep that clip for the next 6, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, even indefinite amount of time, I could archive it into the Verkada cloud. So I could just write door incident. If I wanted to, I could blur his faces, which will take 2 copies, one with blurred faces and one without. I could change the times around if I wanted to, and I could press archive. And what that effectively is doing is it's going to take a copy of this footage and put it into the Verkada archive. So you can use that, you can keep that. And with the Verkada system, there's no additional cost. So all the features, functions, everything I'm talking about are all inclusive, including an unlimited amount of archiving. So you can archive as many clips as you want a day and keep them in the Verkada cloud for as long as you're a paying customer. And in a second, I'm going to dive in and show you where those archives go and how that works, etc. So let me get out of here. And there's a couple of other things I want to talk about in regards to finding footage, because this is one of the biggest things. When we talk to customers, they go, I've got this great camera, it can pick up great footage, but if something happens, it takes me like 2 hours to find it. I've got to fast forward, rewind. I never get a good description. I never know exactly the time it happened, and it just takes forever. What we're trying to do is minimize that time. So if something happens, it happened an hour ago, it happened a day ago, it happened a week ago, you can find it easily. Another way of doing that is, apart from looking at the historical thumbnails, which is an easy way of fast forward and rewinding, you can look at the sort of locations. You can do that filter that I did before. We can also look at the people analytics. So a lot of the time, incidents happen when people are involved, obviously. So if I click on this people button here, there's a couple of things that are happening. So I'm introduced with all the faces that this particular camera has seen. So I could click on all faces and drop down, and it will load up all the faces, and I can dive into each one of those. So if I was looking for this particular chat, again, I've randomly clicked on his photo. I'm going to be presented with all the thumbnails. So remember, this is Wednesday. He's then been seen again on Thursday. He's then been there on Tuesday. So I'm seeing all of his face come in and around. So this is just looking for him on this particular camera. So if I actually extend that search and say, yeah, this is the guy, I just want to know a little bit more about where he's been on my premise, because I don't think he was supposed to be there. So I can extend that search, and it's going to use his face using best efforts. It's a sort of photo matching technology. It's going to find him in and around. So I can see he was on the 2nd floor. I can see that he's walked around the different locations. And you're going to get some false positives because that's obviously not him, but you're going to get him roughly about 80% of the time in this instance, in and around the office, and you can dive in. And you can dive into any one of these clips, as I did before, and you can watch and see exactly what he's done. Here he comes up the stairs, etc. And you can archive that and understand where it's coming from. Now, if I go back one, you might not know the individual that you're after. So you might, you've got this individual that you've looked at face, but you might have a different description. So you might be looking for someone based on a sort of physical description. So there might be, look, the guy at the front door was wearing a red shirt. He was acting a bit strange. It was definitely a man. So that's all we've really got. So I'm going to apply those filters. And what I'm going to get presented with is someone at the front door wearing a red shirt that appears to be male. So, she's obviously a female, but most of the majorities here you're going to get appears to be male. So you can start to filter those through directly. Now I'm getting a pretty good headshot of this guy here. So I'm just going to take his photo. So I'm going to look at him now, and I could go a little bit step further, right? So I've looked for someone based on the description, but now I'm looking for someone with just randomly looking for their photo. So I'm going to sort of upload that shot and see if we can pick it up. So this is now searching for him based on this thumbnail shot. And I'm searching for this guy walking around. Now I'm a bit, I'm a bit disturbed. He's not wearing a face mask. Let's see if he's in and around the office completely. Let's extend that photo out from here. And actually, the first one we saw is actually when he went into the office. Yeah, he put his face mask on. It's all fine. Actually, he was a bit naughty in here, so maybe it was, a bit late at night. He was the only person around, and I think he's one of the residents, and he's in and walking around. But it looks like when he's in office hours, he's doing the right thing. So I can sort of dive in and look for that as we see fit. And I feel like a little bit of an infomercial, but I'm going to do one more little presentation on this before we go back. And I'm going to not take a photo based on the system. I'm going to take a third-party photo. So I'm going to choose a photo that I downloaded earlier. I'm going to use one of the global sales director or VP. I don't know what his title is, but I've uploaded his photo from LinkedIn. So I'm going to search for him here, and I'm not really I'm coming up trumps. I'm coming up with absolutely nothing. So actually, I don't think he's been at the front door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend that right out and do a full search. And I'm going to see if he's been in the office at all. Here he is. Some people say he looks like Mitch from Modern Family. He hates it when people say that, but I can see him in and around the office. It's detecting him wearing a mask badly, almost everywhere, and walking through. But I can pick him up anywhere I want to go. But I can transform this. So apart from, I'm looking for him historically right now. I could actually increase this, and I could make him a person of interest. So if I go into my search functionality here, and I go into my people page and my profile page, so I can look at all my people, I could set him up as a person of interest. So I could, sorry, I've dived into the wrong area there. I want to go into profiles, apologies. So I could set him up or put him in as a person of interest. For example, Hans is one of the founders here. So if I click on Hans, I can see all the different photos. These are sort of third-party photos. Now you can see that Hans has been set up as a person of interest. So if I wanted to remove him as a person of interest, I would do that. If I wanted to add him as a person of interest, I'd do that. So what happens now? When he becomes a person of interest, I go from sort of being able to find him historically to being able to get notifications proactively when he appears on site. So if Hans was to appear on any location, I'm going to get an SMS and an email coming through to say, Hans Robinson is on site, or someone we believe to be Hans Robinson is on site. Here's the notification, and here's the clip of the footage that we think correlates to him. So you can dive in from your phone, from anywhere you want to be, and you can just say, is that Hans? I'm watching him. He's walking towards the office. It's a complete mess. Everyone's gone home early. I'm in trouble. Now, the other ways of using this, and it has been used in this instance, is known drug dealers. So if you're running a school and you've got known local drug dealers and you put their photo on, I want to get a notification when they're seen by one of my cameras. If I've got a dismissed employee, I want to know if he's suddenly seen by on premise a month later using his old credentials to get in or using his knowledge to get in. So I can then send in a local manager, or I could go and send in HR or someone and have them removed. Or maybe it's a little bit nicer, like you put all your VIP customers on there so you get them, you know exactly when they're coming into the office. Now, in addition to sort of looking at people footage, we can also do things where we look at vehicle footage as well. So if I look at, maybe go into one of our garage cameras, I'll go into this one. I've got this vehicle icon. So I can look for footage based on a vehicle. So an incident happened in the car park. It was an orange car. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to say orange because I don't know why I've gone for orange. Maybe we'll take off. Okay, so we've got an orange SUV. So I can then dive in. I've seen this clip. Yep, that's the car I was after. That's what I'm going to do. And I can dive in and I can watch that clip, archive it, etc. So in addition to this, and then when you've done that archive, I'll take you in and have a look. So let me go dive in. Actually, before I dive into the archive, I had a few questions. I knew a few people were interested in LPR as well. So LPR being ANPR. So we can search for vehicles based on the type. So any camera in the estate can search for a vehicle just as I did there. So the color, the make, etc. What we can also do is set up an LPR, so a license plate recognition camera. So this is a dedicated camera that looks at the license plate recognition. So this can be linked into third-party gate opening applications, sort of pay for links, etc. If you're looking from a counter perspective. So we dedicate one camera into looking at the license plate. There's no additional software cost. It's the same as normal. And you can look at different plates. You can see them all coming in. What you're getting here is the context camera. So you can do different things, like you can search for a partial number plate. So if, did that number plate come through with 383 in it? Yep, there it is. Right there it was, and you can get all the different times, dates. Now, the fact that it's linked to your security camera means you can do some additional things. So yeah, that's definitely the day we're worried about. This is the footage. You know what, I'm going to pause that. I'm going to open that up. Okay, now I'm seeing the footage and I'm into my main console. I just want to chase that around. So if I pause that, I want to see where they've gone into my garage. So if I type in my garage, now they're taking away a couple of my garage cameras. So I don't think this will work as you have to use a little bit of your imagination. But I can start to follow them in and around the building. So if they've come through here, I want to see if they then come down. This is the second level, so I don't think this particular car is going to come down, but hopefully you get my drift, that they might eventually come in and be the incident that happened just here and go in and around. So let me get out of there, because I don't think it's going to come all the way down. So hopefully that explains the LPR. It links in, it's easy to manage, and it ties into the whole network. You can do it all from the same place. Now, I've talked a lot about finding footage and then archiving footage. So if I go into my archive repository in the top right-hand corner of my home screen, these are all the archive clips. So when I press on archive, I can easily find them. So I can search for an archive based on the camera, based on the site, and then also based on the tag. So I can tag individual archives. So if you've got a police number, or if you've got a recurring incident, something gets stolen in the same place by the same people, or maybe you've got a slippery zone that people keep falling over and you need to build a sort of some sort of case into renovating that area of the office, you can start to do that straight away. So you can search by any of them, but I'm just going to dive into this clip here, and you'll see I'm going to press play. And once that loads up and starts playing, you'll note that it's got the watermark in the top left-hand corner. This is an incident of someone truck and trailing into the office. And I just pause that here. But what I've got here is I've got a whole bunch of options. So one, I can delete the clip because I'm an admin for this particular camera. I could add those tags that I'm talking about. So these are some pre-existing, or I could create a new tag. I'll just get out of there. I could write some notes like Trent or TM sent to police. I could download it. This is what we would consider the old-fashioned way, or what a lot of you are having to do with your clips at the moment. Or I could share it. And this is a huge plus for a lot of our customers. So if I click on this, I could share this footage instantly. So remember, I'm in Gloucestershire, sharing footage from California. I could share it via SMS, I could share it via email, or I could share it via link. So I could do that for a predefined amount of time. So if I wanted to send this via email, for instance, and I want to send it to the police, they usually take months. So I'm going to give it to them for, I don't know, 8 weeks. Type in their details here, press save. I won't do it right now, and then press send, and off you go. In 8 weeks' time, their access will be revoked. They won't have access to that footage anymore. You don't have to worry about reverse round trips, switching things around. It will come straight back to you. I could go in and manage that. So if they rang me up a week later, by sheer miracle, they'd finished their investigation, I could then revoke their access straight away, automatically taking away a whole lot of pain that you're having to go through with tapes and USB drives and zip files and all that sort of thing. It's an instant sharing capability. Now, that's sharing an archive clip. But the other thing I can do is I can share live footage as well. So if I dive into this camera here, and let's pretend there's a fender bender and it's getting out of control. People are getting out of their cars. It's outside your office, and you just need to call the police and sort it out. So you call the police and they say, yeah, we've got someone en route. And you can say, well, look, if you send me their details, what I'll do is I'll just I'll SMS them. I'll give them a day's worth of footage. I'll just send them an SMS type their name in, because my name's there, obviously. If it's the UK, you'd obviously change it to the UK address. You send them an SMS and they get that instantly. So they'd have that footage on their phone. They don't need to download anything. It'll just be viewable from the web browser. They'll have that footage from that camera live for a day. So they can see exactly what they're walking into. In the States, they talk about this at mass for live security instances, interpret sort of shooting events, which is horrible. I'm glad that the UK doesn't have anything like that, but it is usable in that regard. The other thing I can do is I can email it, I could send it as a link, or I could actually embed this footage onto my website. So remember that the way that Verkada works is that it's multiplexed at the Verkada cloud. So if you wanted to embed a clip, so maybe we've got councils doing this for beachfronts. We've got grand openings, schools doing it for sporting events. We even had a recently, close to where I am in Gloucestershire, a college live streaming the birth of some of their animals for their students. So, you can put this on the website. It's open then, or you might have it on an intranet type arrangement. But it's multiplexed at the Verkada cloud. So it would only be one stream up in regards to your network, and then if 1,000 people are watching it, it's one stream up. If 4 people are watching it, it's one stream up. So it's completely sort of bandwidth friendly in that regard. I'll go out of there. The other thing we can do is it's fine to have an incident here within one camera, but say I've got an incident across my whole site, or someone's walking around the outside of my building. I can instantly go a bit further and I could share a whole subsite. So by clicking in here, I could share all these cameras straight away. So this is sharing more than one camera. You're setting up the sharing of 14 cameras in this instance coming through. So I can create that link, do it for a day, create, and I've got all those 14 cameras created, copy, send it via WhatsApp, send it by whatever message you see fit. I haven't used this platform before, so I don't know if I can do that into the platform. I'm going to give it a bit of a whirl just to see. So I'm going to share the sub-site we've got here. I'm going to do it for a day, put it in, create, and if it doesn't work, I encourage you to get in touch with your Complete IT account manager, and they can do it. So if I've got an open question in the session there, and that's the link. I'll try and put it in the chat as well. I'll try and put it to everyone. I don't know if that will work, but hey ho, maybe Ben can get it across to everyone on the link as well. So if you do get that link, please click on it, and it'll take you straight into the cameras, and you'll be able to see them for the next 24 hours. Instantly shareable and instantly recognizable across the platform. Now, limited on time, I wanted to dive into just 2 more quick things to show you what's happening within the Verkada solution, because I've spoken a lot about the cameras, but easily transfer into the access control. So from the access control, we're talking about the same place. We're integrated the system completely. Just by clicking on here, I can now get a complete overview of all the sites. So I can see all the doors. The garage has no sensor, but I can quickly see that it is closed. I can see the doors that are locked and closed. I can sort of wander through and understand them. I can get different reports coming from this page, access usage. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into an actual door. I'm going to dive into this door here and understand it in a little bit more detail. So the first thing I can see is the access levels that have granted to this door. So this particular door has 24-hour full access, and any standard employee can operate it Monday through to Sunday, right? The schedules of this door I can have a look at straight away. Full access, it's access controlled 24/7, with an exception on Christmas Day for some unknown reason. But on Christmas Day, it's apparently unlocked for a few hours in the morning, just in case. I can dive into the settings here. So this is more if you're looking after your security estate, but this is to sort of prove it's a cloud managed system. So here I can easily allocate an indoor and an outside and inside camera to this door. So we linked our cameras can be linked to the doors in the cloud. There's no sort of physical connection there. And it is as simple as just selecting the camera you want and pressing yes. You can do your present the thumbnail, the location, and if you wanted to, if your heart took your desire, you could go into the install settings and look at the time it takes to lock the door, unlock the door, etc., and so on. But let me come out of there for a moment and I'll go back into the history of the door. So you can go into the different events. So if I wanted to know all these different events I've got here, so let's look at maybe access rejected. No one has access rejected in the last week. So let's maybe push it out to a month. And yep, we've got 2 incidents where access is rejected. Now, actually, it's linked to the camera, so I could actually dive in right now and watch those pieces of rejection, or watch those people not being allowed into the particular office. So let me go back into all as well. The other thing I can do before I dive into, say, a user settings, I can actually, because of this door's function, if I get a phone call, I'm working from home today, but I know my maintenance person is coming in, they need access to this particular room. I could dive in. Yeah, that's them. I can see them on the phone. I 100% know it's what's happening. What I could do is I could just unlock the door for them. In this instance, we've got an automatic opener, and voila, I've opened the door. So I've done that from home. I've effectively just opened a door for the second time today. I did test it a little bit earlier. For the second time today, I've opened a door on the other side of the world, sat from my home office to let someone in or out of the building. Now, the other thing you can do, and I won't click on myself here, I'm going to pick on Brent. So if I click into Brent, it's all very clickable. So I've seen that Brent's used this door. So I'm going to actually dive in and actually understand a little bit more about Brent. I'm going to sort of look, okay, so why was he using that door? What doors has he used and how has he been using them? So I can see here that he's used a mobile unlock. So the Verkada way it works is obviously we're doing the access control. So we're the mechanism that lets you unlock and lock doors. So the sort of swipe card mechanism. So we integrate with Weekend, which is a swipe card, which is your normal sort of swipe card protocols. We also have Verkada Pass, which is the Verkada app. So you can unlock and lock doors. You can unlock doors and gain access from your mobile phone. So you can do that via the app by sort of pressing unlock for the door that you select, or actually we've integrated Bluetooth now, so you can actually swipe your mobile phone and gain access to the door. But let me look at Brent in a little bit more detail. Let me have a look at his profile. I can see, okay, Brent Myers, he hasn't had a start date. They've been a bit lazy putting him into the details, but I can get his direct phone number. I can see what he's got in regards to access functionality. So he has the Verkada Pass, so he has cloud unlock and Bluetooth unlock enabled. He also has 3 swipe cards, so that needs to be a little bit cleaned up. So I could do that from this section. I could also set up granularity, so I could set up my office manager just to look after Glasgow, and maybe my Manchester just to look after Manchester, etc. And they'll be able to grant and revoke access to just their doors. I'll go a bit further and look at what access Brent has. So Brent is under a couple of different user groups. So he's an engineer, he's in all employees and all. So he's all the doors that he has access to. A little bit more interesting is what are the doors he doesn't have access to? So if Brent calls up and says, I can't get into the large conference room, I can easily see that actually, why are you in London, Brent? You don't work in London because based on your profile, you're one of our US employees. And you can start to investigate that as you see fit. So a lot of information covered here, going back and forth throughout the product. Hopefully you get a bit of an idea of what we can do. The last thing I realized, it's again a little bit of an infomercial. I forgot to mention some of the proactive things that we're able to do within the product as well. So I did touch base on the proactive notifications for persons of interest. So when we detect a face and we send through an SMS and email, but there are a couple of other things we can do. And this is our live screen. So it's got the camera live notifications. It's got the access control live notifications, if that's going to load up. So I can see I was the last person to do anything, but before me, Tim went into the HQ. We've got the license plate going through, so you can filter through all of those. But you can also get these notifications coming through via SMS, email. We have open API, so you can put them into a catchment protocol as well. But I want to just touch base on some of the camera notifications for enhanced security, right? So we have motion detection, so you can set up motion detection as you're seeing here. A lot of these are motion detection because people have just randomly set them up in places where they're going to have lots of detections. So it might be better if I just dive into an actual camera and show it in earnest. So I'm going to dive into this one and just show you what you can have in play. So I'm in this camera now. if you think about this camera, I'm just going to go to the settings of the camera and just show you how easy it is to set up the different notifications. So motion notification, so you can go into the camera, you can filter the motion by people or vehicles. Obviously, I would always recommend that you do people and or vehicles. If you leave it blank and it's an outside camera, obviously in the UK, you're going to have foxes or squirrels setting it off every other day. So you can set the different times. So if I wanted to add a different time for each day of the week, I could do that as much as I liked. And then you can set different zones. So if I only really care about anyone that comes near here, I don't really care if they come and sit here. I just care if they come to the front door. Obviously, I just isolate that area. So if I get motion in this area, I'm going to get a notification, the SMS, the email coming through. And it's that easy. Just press apply and it's set up. It's not overly complex. You should be able to do it, adjust it, play with it as you see fit. And they're both indoor, outdoor, all inclusive in all the cameras. So we've got people putting it on their PPE cupboards on the weekend when there's no one around because it was getting stolen, etc., which is horrific. We've got schools doing it for off-site, weekends, evenings, etc. Now, the other thing we've put in is a crowd notification. So we rolled this out. So the way to think about Verkada is you're going to be, if you acquire Verkada today, you're effectively getting the worst version of Verkada, because tomorrow, next week, the month after, we're going to be rolling features into the product, and you're going to get them as a part of your subscription fee. So you're going to have them at no additional cost. So we actually rolled in crowd control during maybe the first lockdown or the second lockdown. And the idea, if I go back to this space, if you think about this space as being an indoor foyer, maybe a breakout room where actually you need to control the number of people that are in there. You shouldn't have more than, say, 6 people in there at a time. So you might sort of turn on crowd notifications. It's going to count the number of people that it sees, so the number of bodies it sees, up to and including 10. So if you can only have 6 people in your foyer, you might set that to 7. And the moment that 7 or more people are detected in that camera's view, you're going to get a notification saying, look, I think there's an overcrowding event. We actually had a customer put those onto the rooftop cameras. They had cameras on their rooftop. They set everything to 3 or more. The theory being that the only people that access a rooftop are maintenance, and they usually operate in 1s or 2s. So they set that within 24 hours of deploying Verkada, the HR, the security team, whatever you want to call it, they realized that the rooftops were being used by some staff as a smoking area. So they were completely dangerous, completely not allowed. So they were able to detect that straight away because they were congregating in 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, having a great old chat and a smoke because it was a 5-minute, they say 2-minute walk to the actual designated smoking area. Now, you can also set that up for vehicles, so forecourts. So if you really want to know, you've got 4 parking spaces. So if 5 cars are in there, someone needs to run out and sort out who's parked where or who shouldn't be allowed in, etc. The other thing we have whilst I'm in here is you can set up privacy screens. So if you've got cameras that need to go outside, but actually you really shouldn't be looking over this area, maybe it's not your premises, you can set up a privacy screen, and it's akin to putting a film over the lens. Like we are not going to record anything that's behind that particular device. Now, these are cloud devices, so you've got audit logs coming into here, so you can see my name popping up, etc. You can download those by reports, and you can do that both on a camera level, on a site level, or an org admin level, so you can see everything that's happened and gone through on that particular camera. The other thing you can do is we do enable cloud backup out of the box. So this is where instead of storing the 24/7 footage on the camera, you store it on the camera, and you can also store 30 days worth of 24/7 in the cloud. So instead of just sending the thumbnails, you're sending a full stream. I put a little caveat on that to say, think about your company's bandwidth. Think about what impact it's going to have. A lot of customers turn this on. They really, really like it. And then they slowly realize that they don't need it for all their cameras. They slowly realize that the way that they can proactively find footage is quite quick, and then they can archive it. But actually, it's better to free up the bandwidth for more proactive applications like your CRM and your day-to-day tools, etc. Adding a camera is relatively simple. If your networking's in place, you're effectively plugging it in, putting the serial device in, and putting it straight into the device. Support is available 24/7, so support's included, just like the warranty. And you can do that via the help function here. Support access credentials, so we can access your cameras. And this is part of the security enablements we've done post-March, is if you want support to come in and access your camera, you can click on the enable access, and you can give them one-time tokens. So the only time that Verkada can ever get in is when you, as an admin, allow them to. So and you can set those different functions. You can change the different times, and you've got all the different chat support emails and credentials here. I hope that answers a lot of the questions. I hope that sort of builds some interest in the Verkada product. As I mentioned a few times, if there's something there, I really encourage you to have a one-to-one demo. See how would it apply to you, because it's very hard to do a one-to-many across all the different areas. But I reach back, get in contact with your complete IT rep, right? Get in contact with them. We can set up a one-to-one conversation, and post that we can actually send you cameras. So we're more than happy to send you a 30-day trial. We can extend that out if we have to. So we can send you a 30-day trial of our cameras, put them in situ, see how they work, get sort of touch, feel, understand the quality of what we're trying to achieve, and then make a decision. In fact, I would always implore you to get in contact, see if you can set up a trial, and then take it from there. From a pricing perspective, we are very competitive. When you wrap in all the services and everything that you're able to get, we are effectively doing a lot of the features and functions that I talked about almost free of charge, or as a nice to have extra. So I'll revert to the question page on the chat. I don't see any of them coming through. I actually see more people on the call than when I started, so that means that no one's dropped off with boredom, which is fantastic news for me. But as I said, if no questions are here, I'm gonna close it up. I've got 4 minutes. I didn't allow a huge amount for questions, but please type them away, or I implore you, please get in contact with your complete IT rep. They've tested, used the tools themselves. They've got obviously their technical team. They've got very alert and ready account managers that I've taken through the product as well. But other than that, thank you very much for your time. Yes, so this is available for customers who could not make it. Oh, that's been answered. Look at that.